Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cocktails and Rocktails with me, your most notorious groupie, Alice Rouse, author of this little guy right here. Not so little and only half the story. These other little books where you can get all that down in that link tree. Hit that link, get my merchandise. Got some funny business happening over there. But what we've got happening here, you guys, I'm always so thankful. Like to always start off with being so thankful to all the people who are making this such an amazing family, to the people who are just watching silently and just enjoying and having fun with us. Welcome to the new members. Every single one of you is incredibly amazing. I just can never tell you truly from the bottom of my heart how truly, truly thankful I am for such an amazing family that we have here. It's awesome. Thank you guys. And romper stomper, bomper boo. Only Gen X will get that. So today's topic, you guys, I always try to figure out how to describe the 80s, and it's just never enough, because how do you describe a vibe? How do you describe the energy of the people around you in that era? And how do it's sometimes kind of hard to do the description. Well, I was watching a movie the other day, and I was like, that's it. That is it. Totally it. So today we are going to talk about the movie Fast Times at Ridgemont High, because everybody Gen X, you all know, we all know someone from that movie if we weren't someone in that movie, character-wise. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And today we're going to do this. It's a hard kombucha. So it's a Flying Embers made with, I didn't realize it was a kombucha. I was like, ooh, pineapple. I'm down for pineapple. I love pineapple. Makes it better when somebody does go down. Anyway, so yeah, we're going to try this hard kombucha out today. We're going to do a little talk about some fast times, because we had a lot of them in the 80s. Wasn't just at Ridgemont High. So everybody, grab your red bikinis, kick up your feet, and let's have a little cocktails and rocktails. We'll see if it's crystal clear. I'm not really that big a fan of kombucha, but like I said, we'll give it a go. All right, everybody. Cheers, big ears. Okay, not bad. Not bad. You still have kind of that tea taste, but it's not overwhelming. I taste some of the blood orange and stuff. Not a ton of pineapple, but actually definitely swallow this over Kipwinger any day. It's not bad. Nice, crisp, summery drink. I get it. But I'm more of a fan of hot tea, cream and sugar. I'm more English style, so yeah. So, okay, let's get on to today's little topic. And I'm talking about Fast Times because, like I said, it really does play in to the era of the 80s in so many different directions. And it does play in because a lot of people are like, you guys don't know, you were just too young to realize that these rock stars were taking it. No. You know, I always get preached to about my choice of life in high school and young, because people are like, you don't know. I'm like, did you live this life? Because I sure did, and I can tell you right now, you don't know. So I think Fast Times really kind of helps explain what it was really like in the 80s, how kind of bold, balls out it really was. So let's start another Cameron Crowe movie, the one that really made him famous. Not almost famous, but really famous. He actually had gone back to high school undercover just to write this movie. So he was not in high school. Was he ever really in high school? Because let's face it, Cameron Almost Famous is not really about the groupies. It's about Cameron Crowe's experiences, even though it's twisted. And Cameron wasn't from California or Los Angeles. He was from Pacific Northwest, Oregon. Lived in Seattle when I was there because he was married to Nancy Wilson. But yeah, so he enrolled back into high school to write this movie and kind of really ended up capturing the era of what the 80s was really about. It started out in 1982 is when the movie was released. So it kind of was the end of the very, very tail end of the 80s maybe, or the 70s going into the early 80s, but really, really set the tone for what the 80s was like until grunge came along. And even then in the 90s, I think it was still a little bit in a few ways like the 80s. Now, in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, um, sorry, I have my notes here. There was definitely a lot of characters. I think we all had went to high school with a Spicoli for sure. Ours was Dale, came equipped with that VW van and everything. It was a green one. We got we smoked a lot of 420. We had a lot of 420 moments in that van. And Dale was actually the only guy from my high school that I actually did stuff with and hung out with. You know, when there wasn't a band in town, we would just sort of hook up here and there, and actually dated when I came back to Salt Lake after John. Still the same guy, but he wasn't the surfer dude. He was more the BMX bike kind of crowd. Didn't really ski or snowboard because that's a huge thing. Like in Utah, the Spicoli guy would definitely be the snowboarding guy, you know, because we don't have the waves to surf. We got the pow pow. But pow pow is powder. That's what we call it here in Utah. It was a pow pow. I'm going to go hit some pow pow. So that's not anything violent or anything like that. It's, don't want YouTube to be confused. So definitely have a Spicoli, every single one of us. We have that kind of stoner, not necessarily rocker crowd, but more the skateboard crowd, more the surfer, snowboard crowd. They pretty much intermingle with the rocker crowd, who was kind of represented by the Pat Benatar chicks. But I think really the Pat Benatar chicks were more representative of the groupies. I think that was definitely kind of his way to show that these women, but not in what society would consider a derogatory light. So the Pat Benatar chicks for me were always the groupies. They were kind of the girls that were a little more bold. They had a little bit more style. They are a little bit more out there. They didn't follow the norm. Those girls probably most likely hung out with older guys and possibly backstage. I'm willing to believe that if we picked a story for each character, I think we kind of know Spicoli's character, surfer dude, you know, cool family, little brother, likes to chill, kick back. His parents are probably kicked back, but we'll get into the parents in a minute. So, you know, I think that the rocker chicks, if you picked out those Pat Benatar chicks, they definitely have hung out with the band and maybe slept with the bass player or the drummer. One of them, at least the lead singer. So I think that was kind of more the homage to the groupie in that movie. And I think he kind of transitioned the dress, the ideal look of what we think a groupie is, you know, from that 70s hippy dippy crap to the 80s ladies with their mini skirts, their streamlined kind of new wave look, the short hair or the long big hair, you know. So that was definitely, for me, the characters that obviously hit home close to me. So let's see. And I think, you know, there was Damone. Damone definitely, we all had a Damone. Maybe not necessarily scalping tickets, but definitely that kind of all-around kind of personality guy, kind of, hey, fast-moving pace guy. Ours was Greg. And Greg, he ended up actually having a shop right down the road from where I live called Black Cat Comics. Been around for a long time. Really, really cool guy. Same that dark hair, kind of feathered look, because you love the style in Fast Times, right? That just so set the style for the 80s with that feathered hair, with the poofy shoulder sweaters, stuff like that. So Damone was definitely Greg, and Greg actually wrote in my yearbook. He's like, you're a real badass chick, but keep in mind I have a bet on whether or not you're going to wear a miniskirt on the first day of school next year. Ha ha. I helped him win the bet. But he was that kind of guy, that kind of Damone vibe. He was really cool, but could kind of shy away from things as you do, because as we know, Damone kind of flaked on a few things in the movie, which it was kind of cool that this movie, it was so directed towards teens and had messages in ways we didn't understand back then. We didn't realize it was a message. We didn't realize it was kind of making people feel comfortable in their own skin with things that they might have done. Because as we know, the main character, the girl in the movie, she ended up having to go to a clinic and take care of a situation, which really at the time in movies was so unheard of. I think there was one other TV show that had dealt with women's bodily issues, autonomy, which I'm all for. Teach their own. I'm not here to judge. We are not God. None of us are. Anyway, but so the fact that they showed this in the movie, like I said, there was one TV show, one episode that dealt with that kind of topic. Before that, it was Maude, who we all know B. Arthur is the Golden Girls. But before her and Ruth McClanahan, who was Blanche in Golden Girls, they had a show called Maude. And there was one episode where they did deal with that topic, and it was really intense. But when Cameron Crowe put it into Fast Times at Ridgemont High, I don't think people really realized, because I sure didn't when I first watched the movie. It wasn't until the other day I was like, wow. This is probably because at the time there was a lot of movies being geared towards teens. 16 Candles, Pretty in Pink, Weird Science, just a ton of movies. And this was kind of the era that started making these movies towards teens. Well, Cameron Crowe with Fast Times at Ridgemont High really stuck true to everything that was actually going on in this situation where she had to go to the clinic and take care of a situation was ring true. I fortunately never had to deal with that, but I do know people that did. And like I said, they had that choice. And for him to put that in the movie really kind of, for me, was very gutsy, because we all know it was happening to our friends. Maybe some people had to deal with that, because, and I think it kind of made people feel a little more comfortable and not quite as alone or singled out, and they had gone through the same thing with, their partner who might not have shown up, might not have done the money, whatever, just like Damone did. So I really kind of liked that aspect of the movie, because the movie is filled sex. I mean, one of the first things that happens in the movie is the main character. Why am I not remembering her name right now? But she lost her V card, to the guy at the stereo shop. She lied about her age. They went to the baseball field, to the point, which we all know in our towns, our high schools, we had the point, and we had that guy from the stereo shop or the record store or the men's suits or, the Corvette salesman. We all knew that guy. We all did. I just happened to end up with the Spicoli from Fast Times Dale. But so, and I think that was really spot on, because we all had jobs back then as well. Like the second we turned 16, we were getting jobs, kind of expected, and basically out on our own. We had our license, we had a job, we had our own money. Our parents have already raised us by the time we were 16. And that kind of all played into the movie as well, because in a lot of these movies, and especially Fast Times at Ridgemont High, you hear a lot of talk of the parents. Oh, don't let mom and dad see those roses. Or, you have to go before my mom gets home from work. The parents were talked about, but they were never seen in the movie. Totally non-existent. Yes, they raised us well enough to respect them and be afraid of them when they got home if we were doing something wrong. Not afraid, but disciplined enough to know we might get grounded. We don't want to get grounded. As a teenager, 16 years old, that's the worst thing that you can do. Can't go hang out with your friends, can't go meet the band, whatever you're doing. Can't get knocked up in the pool house. So, by Damone. So that was always really interesting to me as well, with not just, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, but like Weird Science or Pretty in Pink. You only see one parent, and that's, Andy's parents, the main character, Molly Ringwald. And you don't really, the parents in Breakfast Club are very, very minuscule to the actual movie, but kind of big to the plot, because it helps define the characters, but they're never really present. And like I said, I had great parents. They were awesome, but they had their own lives. They went to cocktail parties, they had dinners, they had bridge club, they had poker night, they would go to St. Louis for a romantic weekend or away for business trips. Heck, when we were in Rainbow Girls, I was traveling on my own by the time I was 12. So this was kind of another aspect that was really, really normal. Parents today can easily be more helicopter, and I don't mean that mean or anything, but you can watch from above your kids these days. We didn't have cell phones, we didn't have GPS, but we also had parents who were very dictated in the 50s, 60s, 40s of how life should go. Go to school, fall in love with your child high school sweetheart, or go to college and meet your college sweetheart, marry them, settle down, have kids, buy a house, shiny happy little boxes, right? So I think by the time our parents got to us, that they were just like, I'm not going to be the same smothering people that my parents were. We're going to let them have a little more freedom. We knew how we were already grown ups. You know, they kind of had the same thing. You were expected to be married by the time you were 20, 18 and 21. That was the general marrying age. So even our parents were pushed into being adults a little sooner than, taking on the adult responsibilities sooner than we probably should have. These days, it's like, wait till you're 30, which is not bad advice. Enjoy your fucking 20s. But that was another thing in Fast Time at Ridgemont High that I think we all really, really identify with, that I think we can all say, yeah, we were pretty much on our own. Our parents were either work, they were doing their own thing. They were going to, my mom had Cosmopolitan Club. She was United States Education President Association, Utah Education Association President. She and my dad, when they were still married, went to cocktail parties. They went on business trips together. Like I said, it was just something that was very normal for us at that time to kind of be left in the home as teenagers without our parents. Heck, my mom went away even after the divorce when I was in high school, my senior year. She went away to work on her master's in education and her doctorate. It was either her master's or her doctorate. But so she left me alone in the house. Danny would come and stay, like she was there pretty much the whole summer as well. The whole summer. One of my sisters was with her boyfriend who lived a couple houses down. The other one was in another part of town with her boyfriend far away. So I had no supervision. It was just pretty much me and Danny at the townhouse all summer long. And we partied. And that's, you kind of see that as well in the movie. You don't really ever see the house parties, but those kids are having house parties. But like I said, we were left alone a whole summer. We would have our friends over, just our core group, like Jerry, Christine, Michelle, Danny and I, Tracy, and we would just do little drinking games like quarters during the week, but the weekends were reserved for the big keggers. And the cops back then were so much cooler. Like, they would come knocking on the door, because I lived across the street from my high school, so everybody would just park in my high school parking lot, come over, we would take the keys at the door, throw them in a basket. If anybody was too drunk to drive, they weren't getting them back. But we could call our parents back then. Hey, a little drunk at the hotel with Metallica, could you come get us? And our parents they would probably 2 sheets to the wind driving to go get us too. So it was such a more relaxed kind of hands-off time. Once we got to a certain age, once we got our driver's license, it was pretty much we were on our own. So people are like, you were too young to be a groupie. It's like, no, we actually weren't. We were expected to start working. We were expected to drive ourselves everywhere. We were expected to get through school, to start applying for colleges, to have the boyfriend, to have the girlfriend, to have this, to have that, to be the superstar athlete, which is also in the movie, because we all know those, especially in Salt Lake City, where I went to high school, Brighton High School, because they groomed their athletes to go to the U of U or BYU, which a lot of people are taken to the NFL. So even the athlete and the car and everything is so spot on in this movie. If the younger generation, the younger groupies, younger ladies, if you have not watched Fast Times at Ridgemont High, watch it. You will get the 80s and what it was like. Because we were free range, and it's very, very heavily sexual, because every straight man remembers the red bikini and Phoebe Cates opening that up while brother's in the bathroom visiting his little stripper pole. Yep, Judd Hirsch. in his little Captain Jack's pirate outfit. That was like the fantasy for so long. That, and that I have to say, wow, yeah. I was like, I want to be that. That's what I want to be. It affected the generation in so many different ways, just seeing that scene alone, and it's just like, it was so filled with sex, 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 because we weren't afraid of sex, drugs, and rock and roll in the fucking 80s. We lived it. We were, like I said, we were on our own. If we were old enough to be driving and having jobs, then we were old enough to be taking care of business, doing the horizontal bop. And we all know the Phoebe Cates character that had that college boyfriend that ended up breaking up with him, that was trying to be really mature about it and write a mature letter. We all had that friend too. I think I was kind of a mix of the Pat Benatar girl and the Phoebe Cates. Had the older boyfriends, they just happened to be rock stars. So it's a really amazing movie. The teachers, like Mr. Hand, he always was a little bit harsher. We all knew that guy. That was my pottery class teacher. He was that guy in my school. So it really, I think Cameron Crowe going back to school and kind of making this movie about what our generation was really becoming and what it was like at the boom of our era, when it was ending that hippy dippy kind of punk stuff of the 80s or the 70s and going into the 80s with a whole different consciousness. And women were free to do what they wanted for the first time in history. We could get apartments on our own. We could get credit cards on our own. We could do everything by ourselves. We didn't need a dad, husband, brother, male cosigner. We didn't need that. Still don't need it, but we're in danger. So, but that's what I love. I mean, I think it was such a personified, that's the way I would describe the 80s at Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And as groupies, I think we kind of really lived it, taking initiative, going down to that hotel bar, lying to our parents, saying we were sleeping over at so-and-so's house, when we were really at the point getting busy. But in our case, the Marriott Hotel Bar. Like I said, I think it was because our parents, and it's not like our parents were hands off, hands off. They just left us to our own devices and went on about their little lives. And there's nothing wrong with that. Parents should have a life. It's okay. Don't get mad because, as kids, because your parents don't hover around you after a certain age. Like one of my sisters, my niece just turned 18 and she's like, woo, you're on your own now. I mean, not completely, but she's like, you got to figure stuff out as soon as possible. So I think it's just really, if I want to describe the 80s from here on out, I'm just going to say, you guys, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. If you haven't seen the movie, younger generation, go watch it. You want to know what it was like in the 80s? There it is. Lots of sex, drugs, rock and roll, fast moving, parents not around, having a good time, working our asses off, taking care of business when things needed to take care of down at the clinic, whether it itched or needed a little more of a procedure. And, not absolutely, we might not have got along with our teachers, but we didn't totally disrespect them. And we kind of all met in the middle back then. I think that's missing today because social media has taken away the ability to connect in the way we did and the way Cameron Crowe expressed it in the movie. And I think it was really great that he kind of put some stuff in there that was really kind of innovative. Anyway, it was really innovative in things that he approached, the way he approached subjects that had not been approached before. And the 80s, we were kind of doing that. I mean, I think we were kind of exploring as teenagers on our own in ways that the 60s and 70s didn't, because the 50s and 60s were still so structured. Then you had the Summer of Love, but there was still an oppression that didn't allow all of society to really just break loose, because I think one of the most important things our parents allowed us to do was to be the rebel, was to make mistakes, was to go out there and start to explore ourselves as adults, as human beings. Even though we weren't technically adults, we were more adults then than I think kids are now. And I don't mean that mean. I just think we were let loose into the world a lot sooner, you know? So there we go. You want me to describe the 80s? Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Everybody loves this movie. You guys tell me who you knew down in your school. Which one were you? You know, because like I said, I think we were all one from the movie. We can all identify with that. So tell me what you think. Who was your Spicoli? Did you kiss him like I did my Spicoli? Well, I did more than kiss him. He was big, dude. Yeah. I have that radar, you know. Like I said, it's the pinky ladies. Oh, and I haven't said that for a while. So ladies, you want to know the size? Don't listen to the thumb. Don't listen to this stuff. Always trust the pinky. If it's as long as the ring finger, ride it till it falls off. Because it's fun. But all right. So thank you, everybody, as always, for getting to the end of the video. Thank you for all the love and support. For all the friendships and conversations. And all the new Metallica ladies that are wandering around, that are just joining us. Welcome to you guys as well. Lots of cool ladies down there as you guys are meeting other Metallica ladies that I absolutely adore. So thank you guys for really, especially you Metallica ladies, for really especially just kind of helping me grow this channel, because you guys have been really important in that. So thank you. And to everybody, you've been really important in just being an amazing growth and part of this channel. So thank you as always. And as always, if you're not subscribed, just come on down, get your backstage pass, come party with us, get to catering, have some meaty treaties. Hit that subscribe, hit the become a member, and share, because, you know, let's get away from those fake, never was, rehashed bullshit, AI, half-truth stories that really are nothing interesting or fun. Let's get to real creators. Let's get back to people who are doing something different. Let's get a new consciousness. So hit that subscribe, hit the share, hit my bells, and we will see more of you on Cocktails Rocktails. Cheers, big ears.